I don't know if this has any legs as a cold open, unless you got anything.
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing.
There is a man that has been.
It's fallen into the river in Lego City.
There's a man who has been showing up on my timeline who is a self-proclaimed actor awareness guy. He makes actor awareness videos. His name is Lewis Saunderson, and I'm okay saying his name because he has 1.3 million followers, so it's not like some like random dude that I found that's getting like 2 views per video. But I've mostly been seeing screenshots of this dude, but he's this dude who you know the trend on like, I don't know if it's really on YouTube as much as it is on like TikTok and like Instagram, but it's like I'm acting. I'm being a dramatic actor, and it's usually a scene where someone is just like screaming, you know, like
Yeah.
like but this dude, he has one of the worst crying faces I've ever seen, and I'm gonna send you this one. But basically every single video, he comes up with these extremely specific scenarios, like police officer rushes to crime scene where his daughter has been found, or son reveals
like a
father's
POV.
killer at yes, kidnapper holds father's kid hostage. But a lot of time, I don't know if he's like putting shit in his eyes, like that actor stuff. Like, you know, they'll put like a little bit of menthol or whatever to like produce tears for certain scenes. But my favorite thing about these videos is that usually the comments are usually taking the piss a little bit. But my favorite one, it's like the top comment: "Thanks for raising awareness about paramedics having to call their wife to say goodbye to their son after being attacked by a patient. Happens so often." So it's like he's trying to raise, I don't know what awareness he's raising other than like, these are sad things that happen to people and people cry when they happen. But you know, I don't know, as a movie, puppy gets tangled in cable in river and nearly dies. But like every single video starts with him just moaning, and he's like, he does that thing where his face shakes. He's like, ah!
Yeah, I see that.
And
I'm
they're
going to
so
his page and seeing, like,
the
beet
thumbnails
red
are the
eyes
worst. Yeah, every single thumbnail is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I think this guy has been like reaction YouTuber fodder, so we're probably feeding into that, because I guarantee you, like, I think I looked him up on YouTube and like there's a Danny Gonzalez reaction video to his stuff. Yeah, all of his shit, it almost hits 1 million views, every single one.
Oh, I think
Oh,
he's
here's a
running
good one.
across the same bridge.
There is still women out there that don't want anything from a man. Not money, not materialistic things, nothing but trust, love, support, and lots of affection. And then it's a dude sitting like this with his like head in his lap. It's like, have you ever seen the balloon guy? That guy that like stands next to like a brick wall, and he has like balloon letters that say like, I don't want a thirst trap. I just want to see your last therapy bill so I can tell that you're working on yourself. And he's like a guy standing next to a wall. He's insufferable. It's like the same level of like cringe optimism, like awareness. But yeah, this he has, oh my god, he has so many videos. I'm scrolling through, and like I have not reached the end. But yeah, this is my new favorite guy. I love actors. I love acting. Oh, cool. His first video, when there's a heat wave and you don't have air conditioning at work. And he's just
Wow, yeah, he's got a shitload of videos here.
And that's his go-to. The
I want to know what it's like being another actor in these videos. Because the first one you sent me, he like runs up to the scene of the crime and like there's another like paramedic or whatever police officer guy there, and he like grabs him so he doesn't go in. But you never see the guy's face, and this Lewis guy is just like scream crying, and the other guy's just standing there not doing anything. Like, man.
Oh, here's no.
Are they there? Is he there going like, oh man, okay, I can't laugh here, I can't, or is he going like, oh my god, he's so good. Oh,
This is I'm totally. He actually thinks that he's dead. He's like, this is so good. Oh no, here's one where it's tell your parents you love them every day, and he's holding a dude who looks like he's the same age in bed. Like I think the premise of the video is that he walks in to like see his dad dead in bed, and it's a man who was the same age as him. He's like, Dad, wake up! And the guy's just laying there.
Every video I've like skimmed through so far is him like walking or running up to somebody dead or nearly dead.
Yeah,
so he's doing like the same thing.
That's the only thing that can happen that's the only sad thing that can happen.
Yeah,
is people dying or nearly dying.
Yeah, it's true.
And there's another one. Sorry, son reveals father's killer at his funeral. I saw someone post that on Twitter, and then someone replied, "This is just a Dogma 95 movie." I think that's what made you want to talk about it. Was that one in particular? Okay. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, this is like a Thomas Vinterberg movie."
Speaking of the only bad thing being parents dying, welcome back to another episode of There Will Be Duds. This is episode 136, and I am your co-host, TJ, and with me as always,
I am Nick.
As always, we watched a movie, and that movie this week being Stoker from 2013, directed by Park Chan-wook. And after following the death of her father, India Stoker is visited by an estranged uncle, who is, her dad's brother, who starts living with her and her mother, and the uncle and the mother are getting a bit close, and it's she suspects ulterior motives of some sort out of him. I'm working on being more concise with my synopses. I think that one works. We'll say even though it's not penned by Park Chan-wook, it's his only English language thing to date. But as I was watching this, I guess it was kind of like I remember this when it came out and being like, but definitely watching, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that he, even though he didn't write it or anything, like it makes sense that if he was gonna jump to doing an English language one, like he would do something like this, where it's like, oh, there's weird, sexual thriller with
incestuous undertones,
incestuous stuff. Yeah, it's very, very up his alley.
Yes, 100%. There were a few scenes that are like, oh, this is a very like Park Chan-wook thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like a lot of his flourishes are present here.
Yeah.
So you've never seen this before? This is your first time seeing it?
No, this is one of the blind spots. For him.
Yeah, oddly enough, I found this at Second Chance, and I picked it up on the Blu-ray, so I actually had a copy of this to watch. Yeah. Did you see who wrote this movie?
I did. Yeah.
I was not expecting the Prison Break guy to have written this movie. Yeah, I still haven't seen that show, but I remember hearing that the first season of Prison Break is like incredible.
First season of Prison Break is like, it's like top tier TV. It's very, very, very good, and it was intended to be one season, but then it was like, it was a case where it was such a like smash hit that they were like, oh yeah,
No, give us more.
but we want more because money and stuff, and then the rest of it is fine. But the first season, I watched the first season, and you can end it there, and you're good. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that.
You get a complete story out of that first season, and yeah, so it's good. But he didn't write that either, so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he is the lead, and he's good in that show too. The whole cast is really good. Anyways, Stoker, not Prison Break.
Yes.
I could do an episode on Prison Break though.
Overall, I liked it. I think, I think there were definitely some maybe like pacing issues. It was there was like a little bit of awkwardness, a little bit of weirdness, like when I feel like we spend a lot of time at the house and like the family unit, and then we just like jump to the high school shit, and like the high school shit felt very underdeveloped. None of the characters seemed real. They do that thing in,
I can see that, yeah.
like in high school where it's like someone is clearly just like openly sexually harassing somebody or like saying horrible shit, and the teacher's like, oh, come on kids, let's settle down. But also I looked it up, and Harmony Korine was the teacher in that scene, so maybe that's a good explanation as to why the teacher was so cool with people being weird and shitty with each other, because that's like that's his whole deal.
Yeah.
But
well, hey, you should sub at an inner city school, and you'll get way worse than what they did in this.
Oh.
But
well,
yeah, I would say I liked it as well. But yeah, the pacing, I think that was probably my biggest hang up with this, I think. And I also kind of used this as an excuse to finally watch his most recent movie, Decision to Leave, which was getting like rave reviews and everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe I need to watch it again. But I was having similar issues where like I felt like maybe that's just his thing, because I feel like he's just they're just always like unique. No one like how his movies feel and how they move. Or I'm like, maybe if I wasn't as into Old Boy or Thirst, would I feel the same about the pacing? Would I be like, yeah, those movies kind of move at a weird clip, or do those just have better pacing? I don't know. But I felt like I had the same issue with Decision to Leave, where it was kind of like, okay, bringing it back to Stoker, but with a parallel, I'll say like a parallel with characters in Decision to Leave, where like Nicole Kidman and Matthew Good, then they're like smooching, and I'm like, oh, we're here now. We're at this point. They're already like, they're obviously had been like hinting at it, for basically since the beginning, like immediately. It's like, oh, okay, it just like, yeah, there's kind of like leaps, and there's not much. You don't see too much of it developing. Like usually. Maybe I'm just thinking of like, typical traditional movie, and maybe this is better because it doesn't follow these norms, that it's doing its own thing or whatever. But it like, I just thought that there would be more, I guess, sort of, I don't know the word, like what I'm trying to like think of, but it was just kind of like, yeah, you think that the mom and the uncle are like getting a little too close and a little too smoochy. They are. And then you think that the uncle is like a bad guy or like a creep or like a murderer or something. He is.
Yeah,
there weren't any real like secrets or twists. It was kind of just like everything you presumed to be true from the beginning was true. You know,
Yeah,
it just kind of like played out like how you expect. You know?
Yeah, exactly. When I was watching it, I think I was expecting some sort of like bait and switch, like it's all in her head, because there's
That's a
that
good
one scene.
way to put it. Yeah.
There's that one
and
scene
switch.
with her and Whip, which is the funniest name of all time for a dude.
Yeah.
Whip.
Han Solo.
What's that short for? Whipped. Also in Oppenheimer.
Right.
He's the guy that hangs out with Robert Downey Jr. the whole movie,
Yeah.
like his sort of lawyer guy or whoever.
That's a more recent one. Did you see? Have you seen Hail Caesar too? Because he's like the best part in that whole movie.
Oh, is he? It's been a couple years since I've seen Hail Caesar. I definitely need to rewatch that.
He's the would that it were so simple guy.
That's him. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's awesome. I love that part of that movie.
Yeah.
But there's that part after she sees Nicole Kidman and Matthew Good kind of dancing, and then she like watches them kiss, and then she runs away, and she ends up at this diner, and this guy Whip is kind of like the guy who's been protecting her from all the other bullies that are like, hey, what you gonna do? Oh, she does talk, more like Stoker, and and so he's kind of like this character that's like her protector, and there's like a scene where she's talking about like, have you ever like looked at yourself
Had a dream.
from like, have you ever had had a dream? Have you ever like looked at yourself from like a different angle? And like, I think basically what she's getting at is like the perception of yourself and like who you are versus like, you know, kind of that bird's eye view of who you are. And I was like, oh, okay, perception. That's like a key thing in this movie is like her perception of what's going on versus what's real, because they kind of do that a few times where she's like looking through these letters that her uncle has supposedly written her, like, oh yeah, I'm in France doing doing a culinary tour. Oh, I wish I could come see you for your birthday, but you know, I'm in Egypt exploring the pyramids, like all these kind of letters. And then later on she drops one of the letters, and then she looks, and actually they're all dated from the same place, from like this asylum that he's been in. So I was like, oh, okay, this is her. She isn't aware of what's going on, or what's going on might not be because like I feel like they do that with the nanny, the old woman who ends up in the freezer, where I was like, is that real, or is that her?
I thought so too. I thought, yeah.
But then it's like,
Or like him sitting at the piano with her, and then he like disappears.
Yeah,
like,
and
is that
she
in
plays
her head?
she plays piano so hard it brings her to orgasm. But yeah, there really is no sort of like mystery if he is or is not a psychopath, because then you see the aunt, or the woman that comes, Aunt Gina, I think is her name, and she's like, hey, I need to tell you about Charlie. I need like I need to talk to you alone. And then he's like, oh, what hotel are you at? And then she switches hotels, and then he finds her, and then he brings her the cell phone, and I thought that was gonna be it. I thought that was like, oh, okay, like that's like one of those, like he does something creepy, but he just gives her the cell phone. It's like the audience is like thinking, oh shit, we're finally gonna get confirmation that he's a killer, and he's gonna kill her. It's what he's gonna do. And then he gives her the cell phone, and the audience, you're like, oh, I thought he was going to do something terrible to this woman, and he was just doing a nice thing in a very creepy way. And then he gets in the phone booth and chokes her out with a belt and kills her anyway. So it almost felt like it undercut that scene, when it's just like, give us a little bit of like cut away, like he gives her the phone and then cut away to a different scene, so that way there's still some sort of mystery as to whether or not this dude is a crazy killer or not. But yeah, the movie kind of shows its hand nearly immediately with him, and there's like scenes like that where I'm just like, well, I think that would have been more fun if I didn't know. But now that I know, I'm just like, okay, well, this guy's nuts. And I think maybe they're trying to remedy that by being like, okay, but also she's nuts too now. Yeah. Because like when she like bites Whip's lip, it's a fun tongue twister. And he's like, oh no, you opened this door, you're gonna walk through it, which means I'm gonna rape you. Yeah. And then I was like, all right, dude, sure.
That's a weird twist.
And then, Uncle Charlie shows up out of nowhere with her dad's belt. So there's like an Inception level of weird incestuous shit going on where it's like it shows her in the shower afterwards cleaning off this horrible traumatic thing. And then again, the reveal that she's actually masturbating in the shower, and then reaches climax to the scene of her dad's belt held by your uncle snapping a dude's neck. It's damn, Park. You got some shit going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to add to that. That is a pretty good, like, apt summation of the whole kind of way the movie works. But I guess what I can talk about, is this just me being biased that I was looking for this stuff more often than if this had just been directed by some old dude, some rando? But like my favorite part about it, I think, was Park's influence. Like you're saying, the part where she's talking about like, oh, do you ever see a photograph of yourself from an angle that you don't see? And like what I was thinking of when you were talking about that is the shot of her on the merry-go-round just coming and going.
Yeah,
that's a really cool shot. I really like that.
There are some very cool shots in this movie. There's one scene transition in particular that's like,
I wrote down there's a couple really cool scene transitions. Are you thinking about the hair brushing?
Yes.
Into the field. That was really cool. There's another one where it's near the beginning where it's like it's Mia Wasikowska's face, and then it like fades, and like where her eye was, there's like an orange or something like that, like exactly in the same position. So there's a lot of that stuff. I know there's some other kind of scene match transition things like that. Just the way that the scene of her masturbating in the shower was also very well done as far as like making it kind of like
unclear how she feels about it.
Yeah, and then like the pan down was a really good like, oh no, like a really good kind of reveal, and then pairing it with the bits of him actually murdering him, like, oh yikes. And then I guess jumping ahead to like the final scene, it was quick and it was just like the final scene, but I like when it kind of reminded me of Django Unchained, even though I guess they came out right around the same time, I guess.
Yeah, this would have been like a year later.
When she like stabs the cop in the neck with those like pruning shears, and then you just see like all the like the grass and the leaves get like spritzed with blood in the
very
field
like
and
that
stuff, and
yeah,
and then you get back to the which I guess that kind of took me by surprise. I didn't think that we were gonna the opening before the opening credits. Those like just shots of her like close up and stuff. You get those again, and those look really nice. The opening credits were cool too. Really cool title design.
Yeah, I think the directed by Park Chan-wook one was my favorite because it's put down it was like a little glass thing over the cake, and all the candles slowly snuffed out, and his name kind of went out with the candles. Yeah. It's this is like a very like kind of bog standard psychological thriller movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's nothing I guess really like special about it. Like it's like, oh yeah, this is like what you do. This is your twist. Oh, here's another twist, etc. And I think it's sort of elevated by Park Chan-wook's like directorial flair and his style and like his way of like doing movies. And so it's like it's pretty good. But there are some like stuff that's like certain things about it that like kind of keep it from like greatness. Like stuff like Old Boy or Thirst,
Yeah. And I guess for like something on that. Comparing it to those ones, another thing that, and it was only at the beginning. It was only in one scene where I noticed it enough to note it down. But I always have a very keen ear for exposition dumps. Anytime there's like, I feel like there's forced or kind of awkward, like, as you know, this is India, and her dad just died. And it's right at the beginning where she's sitting in the dining room, and there's like the two housemaids or whatever, and they're like,
and they're just like,
oh, her dad just died, and she's still a kid. Oh, what's she gonna do? Her mom alone in that house to take care of her? Her mom? Oh, more like she takes care of her mom. Oh, and they just like go back and forth with it for a while, and it was very stilted. And I'm like, is that the writing, or is that Park Chan-wook maybe? Because I mean, I'm assuming he like he's not directing an English movie completely not knowing English at all. But I wonder if there is, like, when a foreign director directs an English movie or vice versa, that there's some sort of cultural or language barriers where, like, maybe he doesn't realize how stilted that is, or maybe it's the writing. Maybe that was just in the script. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be the writing, and I would almost chalk that up to, because I feel like characters in, like, I mean, I've only seen a handful of Park Chan-wook movies, but I feel like in foreign cinema there is a difference in how characters talk to each other, and I think in those movies, I do think that they are more direct in that way, or like they kind of maybe speak in more exposition dumpy ways.
That's kind of like almost what I was meaning, because I feel like you get that in well, like Old Boy, for example, like it opens with him holding the guy who's gonna like kill himself.
Yeah.
And he's like holding his tie, and he's like, who the hell are you? And then you get like the flashback to him before he's in the room and whatever. But then they still have, once you get back to the present and they're still like talking on the roof for a little bit, that's basically all just exposition, but it's just done very well. It's handled very well. But is that just because of like you said, that's just how they just tend to speak more directly, and it isn't as awkward because that's just kind of how it is over there. And even watching Korea Japanese, I know aren't the same country, but watching like the Japanese like reality show Terrace House. That's how they talk in that too. They're all extremely direct with their emotions and feelings, and it's partly why that show is so like kind of relaxing to watch, because it's like, man, it'd be cool if Americans could be this direct with each other sometimes.
Like American like hidden camera reality shows like that, or like
the Real World and Big Brother.
To their faces, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, you're so great, I love you, man." And then they storm off to their bedroom and they're like, "This guy's such a piece of shit. I hate him. I can't believe he said that to me."
That's
and like,
American
I guess that's
politeness. That's American hospitality.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine one of those, like, because I feel like all those shows always are in like coastal cities, like they're all in like California. Can you imagine like a Midwestern nice reality show like that? Where like none of the scenes end because they all just move from room to room, standing in a circle talking about, all right, well, I'm gonna go to bed then. Okay, yeah. Anyway, did you see the game last night? And then it's just like the Midwestern nice reality show just never ends.
Or it's like they're being all nice to each other, and then like one person goes to leave, and then the person in the room is like turning to the camera to like start talking shit to him. Yeah. But then it's a Midwest goodbye, so the person's like, oh, did you say something? And they're like, no, I was just talking. Oh, okay, so actually,
he comes back to the group.
Yeah. And that ends up being the entire episode is just the goodbye.
Just call it the goodbye. Perfect.
Yeah.
What else? I took some notes. Oh, one of the things that I thought was very there's a couple Park Chan-wook things, or maybe just like Asian cinema things in general. But when she's on the bus and Matthew Good is like driving behind them, and all the girls are crowded to the back of the bus to look at him and be like, oh my god, that seemed I just pictured like South Korean schoolgirls. Like that just seemed very like, I feel like that's not really a thing in America. I don't know. They might have the hots for like a guy, but they don't express themselves that way. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a very like Park Chan-wook thing or like Asian cinema thing. And then the other thing that I was like, this is gross Park Chan-wook shit, was that scene where she does sort of like retaliate against that guy that's been harassing her. And when he goes to punch her, she sticks up the pencil and it like, pfft. Yeah. And then I love that shot of her sharpening the pencil and you see the little wooden bloody
and the sound.
I was like, yeah, okay, there it is. Like that's it's not the same, but it's like, okay, there's your like teeth scene, or like your teeth in Old Boy, or just like that sort of like uncomfortable grossness.
Yeah, that was good. And then she sharpens it again. Well, yeah, she sharpens like the blood off, and then she holds it up like by her head, like that. And I was like, oh, now I want her to use it again, but she never did. Something, another thing I noted that I realized you could almost put down as like director trademarks for this guy is CGI bugs. Because there was a bunch of, this is CGI bug central. There's so many in this, but there's also
spiders.
Yeah. But there's also CGI bugs in a Decision to Leave too. So, and then he uses them in Old Boy. I think Thirst has them. Maybe I'm wondering if I need to. Maybe the other Vengeance trilogy movies have them too. But that's at least 4 movies of his with CGI bugs. And sometimes it's like they're not even doing, like in Old Boy. It's like, okay, it's a bunch of ants crawling out of a hole in his arm. Obviously, you can't really. That would be kind of tough to. You'd have to do like a whole prosthetic. But sometimes in this, I'm like,
you can find a spider.
You could just put a daddy long legs on a leg. That's all right.
Yeah, but you make it crawl up in between her legs. Subtext.
Yeah.
You could also call this movie Hereditary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not like it's like the 2017 Hereditary, but like the sort of nature versus nurture where it's like she's had this in her the whole time, and she just needed someone to come and unlock it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it was a little silly seeing like, and I guess it is kind of believable because Charlie was more or less, I guess, trained since he was a child to like how to be a proper human or whatever, in the mental asylum or whatever. But just like the fact that he was so cool and charming and everything the whole time, but then like in the flashback scene with his brother, he's like, I think that's the point. I don't want to say that it's like silly, but it was just a little hard for me to like gel with at first. Because he's like, oh, I got you a car and an apartment in New York City. Go, leave me alone, basically. And then he goes back to Matthew Good and he's doing his best Lewis Saunderson, like, cry face. Like a little baby. But, I mean, yeah, I guess that was
he doing, like, baby talk?
I mean, not like baby
oh, don't
talk
you love
specific.
me?
Kind of. I think it's supposed to be that like he is still like
trying to manipulate
child.
him. Oh, okay.
I think he's still a kid, but he's more or less like pretending to be an adult, or like he's been trained how to be an adult, but he is still a kid, or like a
Yeah.
still has those issues. Whatever.
Why can't I go?
Charlie.
Why not?
Yeah, I saw on the this bummed me out. I saw on the wiki that Philip Glass was originally going to compose it.
I saw that a couple of
That
his songs
hurt.
did make it in.
Oh, did they? Okay.
I think the piano song that they played was
The
one of
duet?
his. Yes.
Okay.
Because when the
Cool.
credits
that was
rolled,
a really good song.
when the credits rolled, I did see Philip Glass's name show up in the credits. So he at
Okay.
least did a couple songs, but yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say something about Charlie in that scene with him in the car, and like, yeah, he sort of, it was like a Patrick Bateman type guy where it's just like he's very, very cool and collected and well cultured, but like beneath the surface, what's that American Psycho thing? Where he's just like, I simply do not exist or something like that.
Yeah,
He's
I
like
think
doing his
that's
like
it,
his like, moisturizer routine and shit.
Peeling off the...
Yeah. There is no Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
It kind of almost reminded me of like a Hannibal and Abigail situation from like the TV show Hannibal.
Oh, sure.
Her dad is like the Chesapeake Ripper, and then Hannibal
Yeah.
kind of takes her under his wing. Even like she's an avid hunter too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's funny.
I kept trying to guess what was going to happen because like when he's up there killing Nicole Kidman near the end, I thought there was going to be some sort of payoff to like that scene earlier when she's like kind of voyeuristically watching them in the ballroom, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't hear you at all." And then I think Nicole Kidman says something like, "Oh yeah, she used to go on these hunting trips with her father, and she's learned how to like move completely silently so you won't even know that she's in the same room with you." But then she just walks up and shoots him. Like, I thought it was going to be one of those things where, like, he's choking her out, and you think that's the end of it for Nicole Kidman, and then, blam! And then, he
That'd have
looks
been
up, like, didn't he, like, he doesn't even have to say it, but, like, where did you come from? And then he dies.
Yeah.
And then he falls on his knees, and he goes, a lot of stuff that I thought was gonna be like, I don't know, set up and paid off, and then kind of didn't.
I guess speaking of Nicole Kidman too, is that was another kind of, I guess, like fell flat sort of, or was just underutilized. Was like,
Yeah,
it was like the biggest twist with her character is that she didn't really have anything, again, like under the surface. She was just like, yeah, I guess she got over her husband really fast, and she had the hots for Charlie, and that was it. And she was just being used. Like she was just that was the only, I guess, surprise, but it was like less satisfying because it was a surprise that she wasn't in on it. Because like that was the thing, is like you're kind of thinking that she, with how readily she brings Charlie into the house, and how quickly she's getting we're gonna go play tennis together. I'm not sad about your dad dying at all. I don't care. I
yeah.
got
She like
this
looks
new
at her
dude.
hand, and she sees that the wedding ring is gone.
Yeah. So my thinking was like, oh, she, her and Charlie, conspired together to kill the dad so that
Yeah.
they could be together or something. But they didn't. She didn't know what was going on at any point. She truly was like in the dark. She just got over her dead husband really quickly.
It sort of sounded like they were kind of estranged anyway. Like that's kind of how I
husband and wife.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't know. She just seemed. I feel like she was kind of like presented as like some sort of like alcoholic. Like there's a couple
yeah,
scenes where I
true,
feel like she's just
yeah.
like passed out on like a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And like there's like that scene where she comes in for breakfast, and her daughter, and she's like, "Oh, good morning," you know, and her daughter's like, "It's 11 o'clock."
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, "Oh yeah, you
That's
slept
true.
in for like." So you know, I feel like maybe they were a bit estranged. I don't know, but like at the beginning when like you know, her mom learns the news about him, she does. You know, she's like, "Oh, Richard, no!" Like yeah, you know, I guess maybe she's a little bit upset by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you. Jesus Christ. You. I don't know. It seems like implausible that she wouldn't know at least a little bit about Charlie at all. Like, how close were you to your husband if he didn't tell you, like, hey, yeah, I used to have a brother, and my other brother, like, basically killed him out of jealousy and is in an asylum. Like, I don't know. I guess that's, you know, that's like a pretty traumatic thing. But it's like if you're married to someone, I
Yeah.
feel like that's something you would at least like disclose a little bit. But it just seems like no one knows who he is, or I guess anyone who does quickly ends up dead, like the caretaker woman, or like the aunt that shows up and gets strangled by the belt.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman just is like, oh, it's almost like the, you know, the sort of like Nigerian prince scams that people get tricked
Yeah.
by. She's like, oh yeah, sure, Uncle Charlie. Yep.
Yeah.
No weird coincidences with the timing of this at all. My late husband's brother that I didn't know about until his funeral. That's pretty normal. Anyway, let's go play tennis.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain things it could have done that would have made it, like, less obvious from the beginning, which would make the reveals and the turns more
Yeah.
satisfying, I guess. Like what you were saying about, you know, not showing him kill their aunt or whatever. That's one thing. Just have her like, oh, I showed up the next morning to... Nicole Kidman's like, yeah, she wanted me to meet her for breakfast, and then she never showed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like, at the beginning, don't have him fucking show up at the funeral. Have it be, like, a few weeks later. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
I'm Uncle Charlie. Like, the timing of it, you know, don't make it so obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where he's even like, hey, India, don't you want to go get some ice cream in the cellar?
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And he's like, no, you should go get some. Like, he wants her to see the body in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like a huge gamble on his part to be like, you know
yeah.
what?
How is
I
he
think you're
supposed-
just as crazy as I am. This is my way of testing that. How do you react?
Even though you're my brother's child and he lived a perfectly normal life, I think somehow you're going to get my,
Yeah.
you know, my crazy. Yeah, there was a couple things with him where it was like, how does he know? How does he know that she's gonna be into this and stuff? It's like, oh, he saw her bite that kid's lip. Yeah,
He's like, yep, all right, it's on.
she's gonna be cool with this.
Got anything else? Or do you want to
Not really.
rate this sucker?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm good. I'm settling on a 6 for it.
Okay.
I think again a big help is the Park Chan-wookiness of it. If it wasn't for his touches, his stylistic touches, the cinematography, which I believe is his normal cinematographer, like he brought them over.
Okay.
And I really like how his movies are shot typically, so I should get that guy's name if he uses the same dude a lot, because I think that's really good stuff. One of my favorite parts about this. And then yeah, and you know, as far as like acting display is all good. The cast is good. They pull their own weight. I do think maybe it's just doesn't have the greatest script to as like a basis. Sorry, Wentworth Miller. I like you as an actor. I love Prison Break. But yeah, 6.
Okay. I landed around I think I landed around a 7, but I think it's like a kind of like a weak 7, strong 6, kind of like in that it could tilt either way. I had a good time watching it. The only stuff that kind of like prevented it from being great were those kind of script pacing issues. The script itself, like I guess just like the sort of like show don't tell, if you will, of just like character motivations, where I feel like I just needed a little bit more of a mystery. I needed a bit more suspense, and the movie just kind of like lays itself out right in front of you and doesn't really give you any sort of like wiggle room of like, oh, but is this real? Because like the moments with her where she's talking about like your perception of yourself and reality, and like those little moments where like, you know, the way that she sees things and then like things change, and there are a few times where you are kind of wondering what's going on, like is he this well-read scholar, or is he from this asylum? Because she kind of sees both things, and like that kind of stuff I really liked, and I wish there was more ambiguity there on, you know, what's real, what's her perception of what's actually happening. But yeah, it just kind of got brought down by kind of, and maybe it's a translation issue from a South Korean filmmaker making an American movie, where he feels like he needs to be more direct for American audiences because we're dumb and we don't understand things unless it's
True.
You know, explained very plainly to us. So maybe that was part of it. But yeah, like you said, the performances are all great. I liked the actress who played India. I thought she was pretty good. Everyone was really good. Yeah, Nicole Kidman was a bit underutilized, like you said. Definitely could have had more, like, you know, maybe she's like, oh, like she maybe has like a little moment where she recognizes Charlie and she's like, but then she's like, nope. Oh, Charlie, you know. But she's kind of just in the dark like everybody else. So yeah, I landed on a 7 for this one. It's pretty decent. I think it would be a lot lower if it wasn't for Park Chan-wook and his Wookisms. I like that phrase.
Yeah, it's I guess the succinct review is like it's a perfectly average thriller elevated by a good filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I did find the cinematographer's name is Chung Hoon Chung.
Okay.
And he did Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, and Thirst before this with him.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And another movie, but not one that we've done. And interestingly, he's done a fair amount of English like stuff since then. He did
looking at
which is cool. That's good. Last Night in Soho.
He did Wonka.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I mean, you know, I gotta keep an eye out for this guy because despite my varied thoughts about those different projects I've seen, because like I think Last Night in Soho is easily Edgar Wright's worst movie, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the best part about that movie again is the look and that style. I mean, part of that is Edgar Wright. Yes, I'm not taking that away from him. But yeah, Chung Hoon Chung he's good. He's got some.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for this guy. Up
and comer, yeah. I think last episode or maybe the episode before, I mentioned watching Terminator, mainly to get to Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And so we watched Terminator 2 Judgment Day the other night, and hot off the presses, hot take, pretty damn good movie. Pretty great.
Featuring the Zombie King himself, Edward Furlong from Zombie King.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes. Oh, man. Good old little Eddie Furlong. You know, people say that Tom Cruise looks good running. That's like his thing. I'm going to go ahead and put forward Robert Patrick also looks pretty damn good running. Because he spends half the movie doing that. But yeah, the spectacle of it all, it looked like all those car chases and like those action sequences were done practically. There was a really good, like the scene near the end when they're at the future Skynet labs to destroy the chips. They do the Die Hard thing where they blow out an entire floor of a building, and that looked really good. Yeah, just it was great. It was a lot of fun. Wish I had more to say. I'm not very articulate about this, I guess, but it's like a perfect action movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's up there with Die Hard for like one of the perfect, the best action movies out there, I would say.
I laughed so hard at the beginning so there's like so many iconic things from this movie that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I finally get to see these. The "Hasta la vista, baby."
Oh yeah.
Which I loved the setup of like Edward Furlong trying to teach him how to be like. It's like, no, you can't just say affirmative all the time. Like, you sound like a robot. He is a robot, but he's like, he's like, oh no, you gotta, it's like, eat shit, dickwad. Like, he's like teaching him all this like slang. And then, like, of course, it's perfectly paid off later when he does the "Hasta la vista, baby" and like shoots him or whatever. But the needle drop of "Bad to the Bone" at the beginning made me laugh my ass off because it's because that's just so cliched now at this point that I'm sure in '91 it was like, oh hell yeah, this is like a badass scene. But as soon as he sits on the motorcycle and is like, nee, I'm like, this is like my dad's cell phone ringtone or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, Arnold looks so cool on his big old bike. It's like, I've seen all this, all these like iconic images, and now it's like I finally get to see the movie where it all happens.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch the rest of the series, even though I know that after the first two are considered classics, and then I know it kind of drops off after that. I know we go through several different John Connors and Sarah Connors because like, isn't Linda Hamilton
entry? Is a different
she's
one.
in the latest one though, isn't she?
Yeah, I think it's the most recent. I get the last two because there was Terminator 3, and then there was Terminator Salvation, which is the last one that I've seen, and then there's Genesis and
Dark Fate.
Okay, so I think Dark Fate is the most recent one.
Yes, and Linda Hamilton is back.
Okay, she's in that one. Okay.
Yeah. Although I don't think there is a John Connor in this one.
Yeah, there might not be. I don't know. That's what like. I feel like I remember watching 3 and Salvation, and thinking they were like, kind of fine, average, action films. But really the best way is just to watch the first two and just because it's like it's every one what do you say, like every new entry like contradicts the previous ones. It's so frustrating. It's like a horror franchise that tries to keep the same continuity, kind of like Saw, I guess. But you know how like, Friday the 13th has like so many different reboots and whatever, but it's like, okay, yeah, this is a retcon, this is a new, this is a new Jason, this isn't tied to the other ones. It's like it's like that level of disconnectedness, except they're like saying, no, these are all actually tied together, even though none of this fucking makes any sense. Because the second one is pretty definitively like, we saved the world, it's done, we won.
Yeah, it's like he gets his father figure for a little bit of time, and then he has to make the sacrifice because basically it's the reason that the machines even rise is because the initial Terminator got smushed but left behind enough of a little bit of a breadcrumb for these scientists to be like, oh shit, this is what's possible. So it's anytime you do like a time travel movie like that, where it's like things in the past affecting the things in the future, it kind of falls apart under its own weight. And so with the second one, it's like, no, in order to like prevent the future from even happening, like the machines taking over, like, I have to die too. And it's like they effectively, yeah, they accomplish their goal. They blow up the science lab where all that shit's being produced, and then Arnold, sacrifices himself at the end. And then it's like, how do they make like 3 more movies after this? Because it's like you would think that like after with the death of like that T-800 or whatever model number Arnold is, with his death, that should erase the future timeline.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like they can't keep sending back robots because they changed the shit in the past.
That's
those robots, they wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So how does it? So and I'm sure they probably come up. They probably have their own. Somehow Palpatine returned logic of
yeah.
how the robots persevered somehow, and the future is still up for grabs. We have to save it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch the other ones maybe out of like a morbid curiosity, but I the first 2 are like, you just need those.
I was gonna say I would only watch them out of that like just curiosity. Don't expect anything like two is far and above. Like it's a standout in a otherwise mid to what I assume to be terrible, because I feel like the most recent 2 I think are especially bad. I think 3 and Salvation are just kind of like normal bad, but from what I understand, the most recent 2 are like extra bad. And then like I kind of agree with you. The first one is like fine, it's good. It's not too.
It's much more contained. 2 is like the scope is much. There's more characters. There's more set pieces. Like it's basically you almost want to do like a. I always want to do this Evil Dead 2ification of Terminator 2, just kind of like rehash the first one into like the second one and just make one movie.
Yeah. The cool thing about it too is like whenever I watch it, it's one of those movies that like it's one of the movies that I wish the most that I could have seen when it came out, because it was marketed really well to where as far as I know, I believe it was marketed this way, that people know from the first one Arnold Schwarzenegger's the bad guy. He's the bad guy in the first one, right? And the first half hour-ish of this, you are led to believe that he's the bad guy. And it's not until that scene
you're like, oh shit,
hallway,
he's back.
Yeah. It's not until that scene in the hallway where he's walking towards Sarah and John, and then Robert Patrick's coming down the other way, and he tells them to get down, and then he shoots Robert Patrick. That's the moment where you find out that he's actually like a good guy. And I feel like that's such a cool twist.
Yeah.
That is just lost in, post Terminator 2 world, because everybody now knows from 2 onwards, it's only the first one where he's the bad guy,
You're
but
right.
at the time, that was the only movie, so the default was thinking that he was the bad guy. But now it's like, oh yeah, the Terminator movies where Arnold Schwarzenegger's the hero, right? So it's not like a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, that would. Yeah, if you were like in the theater and like you're like, oh shit, like they sent 2 Terminators after him. How are they gonna get out of this one? And then he's like, get down. You're like, yeah, that would have been that would have been insane. I didn't even think about that, because like I've always known that Arnold is he's the good guy in those movies.
Yeah. Okay. And then I watched a couple the Oscar nominations are out now. So me and my wife we went up to the cinema and did a double feature of 2 of the Best Picture noms. We watched Poor Things and The Zone of Interest. Since Nick already talked about Poor Things, I'll just briefly say that I really liked it.
It's cool. It's good.
Maybe I think it might be my favorite of the Best Picture noms. I really like Oppenheimer too. That's probably my number 2. But I feel like if I sit with Poor Things more, watch it again, it'll probably top out that one. Still like The Favorite more for Yorgos Lanthimos. That's still my favorite of his movies for sure.
Yeah, I might fall into that same category.
But I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny.
Dude, how did you like? Oh, did I mention the really really funny, extremely problematic line in the episode?
Like, I think
Rami
you did,
Youssef's his first. His first,
like,
he
what
sees
an exquisite retard or something. It's something like that. Yeah, yeah, that was good.
I feel like Chloe and I were the only people in the theater giggling when he said that, but I was like, holy shit, okay.
There was a few people laugh. Like, we weren't the only people laughing, but there was definitely a lot of people who weren't laughing too. I feel like it was like almost a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And there was like a surprising number of like older people, maybe because it is like a Best Picture nomination. It's gonna bring in people who wouldn't normally see it, obviously.
It's like people who get like season passes to the theater and then go see like Book of Mormon, and they're like, oh.
Yeah. There was also like a couple people in like the like older people who had like, one person had trouble breathing. There was somebody in like a wheelchair like apparatus where I think they had to like assisted breathing, and I'll just say it kind of added to the atmosphere of the movie.
I mean, Willem Dafoe has like his,
that's what I mean. Like, yeah. Or there's just like scenes where you'll just hear breathing, like,
yeah.
And there were times where I'd be like, is that in the movie? Or is that behind me? So I was like, I feel like I watched it in the, nobody's going to experience that movie like I did. I watched it in the best possible city.
The black dude on the boat, did you think that he looked like AI?
Oh, you said that about him. Yeah, no, I don't know.
That whole sequence with like the sky being like orange and blue and purple, just like
the sky
otherworldly.
Production
the way that he was lit,
was crazy.
And he's wearing like his hat and sunglasses, and the way that he was talking, I was like, it looks like one of the, like I said, like the Balenciaga AI guys. That's what I was thinking of with it, like him, that dude in particular almost looked like some sort of AI generated image, even though I know it's not.
I didn't realize that guy and Christopher Abbott, who plays Emma Stone's like husband, he shows up at the end. They were in a movie together a couple years ago that I really loved. They were like the two main characters, called On the Count of Three. So I was like, when I saw him show up and then Christopher Abbott show up at the end, I was like, did they get this
kind of like a little
gig
reunion
together or something? Mark Ruffalo was fucking hilarious. Every time he opened his mouth, he was so funny. And like played so against his type, just being such a shitty womanizing asshole. And turned so pathetic at the end, where he brings Christopher Abbott to the wedding. And then he's just like standing behind him, and she's like, "It's her. She's the devil woman." Like he's just like a little like wimp by the end, but yeah, and be like, "Oh, I'm taking you to Lisbon, Portugal." Yeah, he was good. Yeah, cast was great. I loved like the way they played him, but I loved Willem Dafoe so much. His character was I was so happy that he was just like good. Like he was such a nice, like, good dad, and I loved their relationship. I was expecting a point like it to turn south, it being a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. I was like, oh, he's probably doing this Frankenstein shit because he wants to like have sex with her or some creepy shit like that. Or at the end, it's going to be revealed that he had some other, motives for creating her. But it's like, nope, he's just I mean, it was kind of, just out of scientific interest, but he does have genuine love for her, and their kind of like reconciliation at the end, and then Rami was also like a good guy. I was just expecting like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? When is this going?
I thought that was gonna happen with when she goes back to the castle with her like the husband from the former life, and I was like,
oh, he's gonna kill her.
Yeah,
and that's how it's gonna end.
And then
or something.
It has the most weirdly uplifting yet morbid ending of like, and like it kind of has like everyone was like,
again, for Yorgos Lanthimos, like the happiest, the most objectively happy ending of like any of his movies that I've seen.
This is a hot take. This movie's more feminist than Barbie was. I don't know.
Probably. It might be like more effectively. Yeah, I really liked how. I don't know. I really loved the movie. I thought it was so good. And like her development. I also think. There's another person up for Best Actress that I know I really liked, but I would probably have to give it to Emma Stone because she effectively is playing like multiple characters in this movie.
Yeah,
she's like a different character in every scene.
Yeah,
it's
like she does an incredible job
amazing.
of like portraying
the
like Bella's development as she goes from basically like a monosyllabic baby to like it's like I don't think I like you very much, like much more intelligent and like kind of like what you said. I guess Frankenstein is actually about like like becoming sentient and self-aware and like learning your place in the world.
This is Frankenstein if Dr. Frankenstein loved the creature.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
It's the same thing, except in that he hates him and like despises him with every fiber of his being. It was really sweet. I wouldn't even say morbidly like happy.
Well, the only morbid part is like
fuck his character. He's a piece of shit.
Just make him a chimera. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Zone of Interest is it's a Jonathan Glazer movie who he hasn't done too much. This is only like his fourth, maybe fifth movie in like 20 years. His last movie was Under the Skin from 2013. And that's the only other one of his that I've seen. And I definitely liked this one more than that. I can't get into Under the Skin as much as I would like to. This one's about a family where the dad is the commandant of Auschwitz. And it is a real person. I wasn't sure the whole movie because nothing like super crazy like happens. So I was wondering like this could just be like a made up fictional Nazi officer guy, but it is based on a real guy.
Yeah.
And primarily the movie is set in their house, which is directly adjacent, like their back wall is the wall to the camp. And it's mostly just like a slow sort of family drama with that backdrop. Like you'll just see them kind of doing stuff in their house or just talking, and then you'll hear gunshots and like screaming in the background. And that's like the whole movie. And it's just like the whole movie just makes you feel just dread and unease. And it's really good at that. It's really effective. But it's also and I found this to be the case with Under the Skin, although in a different way. They are shot in very different ways. This is very just kind of like a lot of the shots are just kind of like wide shots of like the whole backyard, and you'll see like 10 people in it, and like, you know, you're listening to two people in the foreground have a conversation, but there's also like kids playing in the background or other people, you know, somebody like watering their garden or whatever. And it's just a static shot that'll hold like that for a while, and you'll just get the whole conversation. Okay, cool. And then we'll go to this next scene. And not every scene is cut like that. Sometimes you'll get closer angles, but a lot of it is like that. And I felt like it was because of that, it was like too distant and too cold for me to really get emotionally invested in it. Where like I thought it was a really well made movie, and I really liked how it was. I really like that way of showing kind of the horrors of war, is just like, as like from these people's perspective, is just kind of like a backdrop.
It's
like
banal. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta go to work.
Yeah, exactly. that is what it's like. And like the only real drama is there's a part where he gets reassigned to another spot, basically. And the wife is like, well, no, I don't want to move. I love where we live. We have a beautiful house and I love this area. I don't want to leave here, and our kids love our house. And yeah. So then, it's like marital strife, and like, that's it. Like there's nothing, like I said, like nothing really, you don't get to see the end of the war, and you don't get to see any of their comeuppance or anything. It's just, this is a thing that happened in humanity. And but yeah, really, really good at doing what it's trying to do. It's just, I wasn't like, and I did feel that kind of like unease the whole time, but that was mostly it. I wasn't feeling too distressed, or I wasn't like, oh my God, it didn't like shake me to my core at the end.
Yeah.
But I was like, that was cool. That was really cool how they did that. Like they're like, and I could tell like the direction, like he's up for best director, and I think he deserves it. I think the directing, like how everything was put together was really, really cool. Like from really subtle things to where like the wife's mom comes to visit, and she's like taking her around their garden in the backyard, and she's like, oh yeah, we grow potatoes here, we go na. And then they like sit down on their patio, and she's like, oh, this is a really lovely life you've made for yourselves. And then the wife keeps talking, and then you'll hear a gunshot in the background, and the mom like turns and reacts to it. She doesn't say anything, but she just like kind of like turns and looks. And the wife doesn't react at all. She just keeps talking, and then it'll happen again, and the mom will turn again. And so there's little things like that are just make it seem very, very real. And very scary, I guess, in a way. And I also will shout out the guy who did the score. I don't think he got a nomination, but Micah Levi. He also did Under the Skin, and I don't know what else this guy has done, but in both cases I love this guy's music. For both this and Under the Skin. I think if he didn't, I don't think he did, but I think he should have got a nomination. I love his music for his movies in particular. I don't know if I've seen anything else that he has done. But Zone of Interest and Under the Skin, because that is the main thing that I remember and that I love about Under the Skin is the music. He's just so unsettling. So it really I didn't even do this. I wasn't even thinking of this on purpose, but it gets under your skin. The music is just very creepy. I'll send you the one I'll find like the main theme for Under the Skin. That's just, it's really good.
I have a Blu-ray of Under the Skin, and I've wanted to see Zone of Interest. That's like, this is like the only other like Best Picture nominated movie that's like out right now that I haven't seen. Well, I guess American Fiction. That's one.
See Maestro?
No, I haven't. Is that out in theaters right now?
Well, it's Netflix. I didn't know you were just saying theaters.
Oh,
it's not.
I didn't realize it was on Netflix.
Yep. So at least that's nice, because I didn't necessarily want to pay.
Yeah, same.
All right. Yeah. Fuck it. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So next episode, is actually going to fall squarely on Valentine's Day. So we're going to do a movie that is from 2010, directed by Gary Marshall, and it's called Valentine's Day.
Woo.
just because. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's for rent on a few different things right now. YouTube, Amazon, Apple TV. I feel like, I always do that, and I've been thinking another thing recently where I'm like, I wish I could retcon it, because I'm like, the what streaming services things are on changes hands so often that who knows if this is even gonna be like this, when this episode comes out, or when somebody listens to it. But for now, that's where they are. So watch it somewhere if you don't want to be spoiled before next week's episodes. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all that said, I am your shy school boy who turns out to be also a piece of shit. But would that it were so simple. I would also
there
be
you go.
your co-host TJ, and with me as always.
Oh, as always, I am your uncle, and I'm here to stay a little while. I'm gonna cook some food and help out with the garden. And hey, why don't you go into the creepiest cellar of all time and get some ice cream with me? And I am Nick.
Uncle wants to fuck.
Do you want me to scoop this ice cream?